So I just got word about Francis Ngannou signing with the PFL. I think this news just came out today. And so the question that instantly comes to mind is this move going to be as lucrative as Francis Ngannou hoped? Is it going to be as lucrative as what the UFC was giving him? Because we can all agree that his main reason, possibly his only reason for leaving the UFC was because that he felt like he was getting unfair contract deals from the UFC. Now, I think there are two parts to this. I do believe that there is a part of getting as much money as he wanted, and then getting attention as well, because attention does bring in revenue, people. Attention does bring in more opportunities. And so my thing is Francis going to get as much quality of fighting that he would from the PFL? And I have an answer for you. I have an answer, and that answer is no. Can you name off the top of your head the top 5 heavyweights in the PFL? Maybe you're a hyper PFL fan, and we don't know how many hyper PFL fans are. I don't believe that there are as many hyper PFL fans as there are UFC fans. And like I said, that attention is necessary. That attention brings in, again, more money. And if Francis was looking for a deal to bring in more money, will PFL bring him that? And I know that he came out with a statement saying that, he's happy with the choice he made signing with the PFL. He feels good about what they offered him. It made him feel like, not just as a fighter, but as, a partner as well. And I'm using this, outside of what he actually stated, but that's basically what he was saying. And so I know that the UFC doesn't bring in as many sponsorships as it did in the past for fighters. Fighters could wear, sponsorships on their shorts, and they could do more with sponsorships back in the day that they could now. And so I think that that's a big deal, because I don't know if the PFL does allow that. Maybe they do. And so maybe that will help Francis Ngannou looking down, the line of his career when it comes to the PFL. But here's the one thing that really stands out to me, people. I think what stands out to me the most is his most lucrative deal would have been to fight Tyson Fury or to fight Deontay Wilder. We all know that how much you can make off of boxing doesn't even compare to what you would make in the UFC, or as typically how much you would make in MMA as a whole. And so do I believe, if you were to compare the choices of what was ideal to Francis, which is going into boxing, fighting Tyson Fury, fighting Deontay Wilder, which pretty much guarantees you more than $1 million plus, maybe more than $2 million plus. Is that something that you typically hear from the UFC? Is that something that you typically hear from the MMA organizations? And my answer to that is no. I think what Francis wanted was to go to boxing because that's what he said, that's what he stated. And in my mind, that leads me to believe that he settled for the PFL. And I would have liked him to either go and fight Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, or fight in the one championship organization. I think that when it comes to offering the best fighters, I think the top two are the UFC and one championship. I just think that they're centered around different regions of the world. The UFC typically tends to center themselves around the European countries, and it kind of coasts over to Russia, and we have a trickle of Chinese fighters, but for the most part it is on the western end of the world. And one championship, it kind of covers the western part of the world, and that's where you'll see the best fighters there. Now, if Francis went over there, it would have been, I think, probably more lucrative. He would have probably gained more attention than he would have at the PFL, in my opinion. I just think Francis would have stood out more in the one championship organization, and it would have been there would have been better competition in my mind if he had gone to the one championship. And like I said, I think his best option, and I think you guys know, I know, Francis knows, that going into boxing would have probably been his best bet. And for some reason that didn't come to fruition. For some reason that idea of him going into boxing kind of fell apart. And so he settled, in my mind, with the PFL. Now, I ask you guys, comment down below, do you think him moving to the PFL was the better option, was the best option that he could have gotten? I don't think so. I think that, the push for boxing was probably his best bet. And so that's my mindset. If Francis is happy, I wouldn't say that that's all that matters. I say it's a big deal, but in regards to what Francis seemed to be asking for, it seems like he was looking for a better deal, and that means he was looking for more money. And if the UFC couldn't offer you that, coupled with the money that they were giving him and the attention that they were giving him, which I do think was understated. I do think that the attention that the UFC was giving Francis, it just wasn't a lot, if you want to be honest. When it comes to the UFC offering attention to the heavyweight champion of the world, I think that it was undermined. And so I can understand why Francis was upset. I can understand why he felt like he needed to make the move within that time frame. But at the same time, was it the better move when you look back at where he's ending up, and that's in the PFL? Comment down below what you guys think. What do you think would have been the best move for Francis? Do you think this was the best move or even a good move? If you put the whole story together between Francis going into the UFC, becoming a UFC champion, then retiring from the UFC or leaving the UFC, becoming a free agent, and then eventually ending up in the PFL, was that a good move? I think only time will tell if Francis will be happy with this decision. But from the outside looking in, I don't know if the PFL can offer the same opportunities that the UFC could have offered. And so, like I said, comment down below what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.